You're listening to Navigate Life podcast, brought to you by YOUnique Life. We are so excited that you're listening today. We're excited about your life, your future, your destiny, and living in full health and vitality. Within these podcasts, we want to equip and encourage you to become everything that you were created to be.
So I finally got you onto a podcast for YOUnique Life, and I'm so excited because Kerry and I have had many conversations about many different topics, and I think the heart behind this is to really share some of that with others. And yeah, I've benefited hugely from these conversations, and yeah, I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on some things.
Well, thank you for stretching me out of my comfort zone. You know, it's easy for me just to teach, but this is something different, and I love the fact that we get to allow people to have a glimpse into our everyday lives. And I think that's the heart of what we've discussed this podcast to be is, you know, sometimes people ask us questions and it comes across as teaching, but when they can actually just have a conversation and listen in on our conversation, maybe there'll be a gold nugget for them to celebrate a new way or live a new day. So yeah, I'm trusting you.
Awesome. Well, I think the first question on many people's hearts, and mine as well, in the beginning was, what is YOUnique Life? Where did that come from?
Okay, so that's a really good question, and you are not the first to ask. Everybody asks, and I know it's a very unique name, like YOUnique Life, and I think that's the heart behind it. So, you know, journeying through life, you discover many things, and one of the things that I discovered quite early on was the way that I was raised and the way that I was brought up was things were very segmented in the way that we approached life and health and career and work and spiritual walking. And so it was like there were these little boxes that if I achieved the box, I ticked it off and I was okay. But when I grew up and got a little bit older, it was like the wheels were coming off my life because I couldn't keep all the boxes segmented. And as I started to journey, I realized, hang on, these boxes like diet, exercise, my walk with the Lord, my kind of understanding of purpose, the success, my academics, they're not all separate. They're not all segregated and different, but they're actually interlinked. And I started to go into this journey of discovering how we are connected together and how things operate. And so it started in a place of value. I needed to discover my value because when you separate things and you put them in boxes, when you're eating healthy, then you derive value from what your goal is in your head. When you're achieving academically, then you only derive value. When you are exercising at your goal or the level of goal that you want, then you achieve value. And so those boxes almost give you a false sense of security and value. And that's when I didn't achieve one of those, I'd completely fall apart. Yeah. And I couldn't live like that. I can't be up and down, and judging myself with regards to the little boxes that I'd put myself in. And really just coming into a revelation of my value is not derived on what I eat or what I do or what I look like or what I achieve, how much money I have, the car I drive. My value is derived on my identity. And what does that look like? How do we unpack that? And so YOUnique Life, in short, is taking those boxes and breaking them and putting them in simple, practical terms of what it looks like to live whole, to live dynamically, to live beautifully, to live with vitality. And, you know, I have discovered that when I am looking after the whole of me, my stress levels, my hormones, my food, my spiritual walk, the way I think, what am I thinking about? When I'm looking at the whole and looking after the whole of me, I function so well and I'm able to do so much more and I have vitality and excellence and fun and joy because I'm nurturing the whole of me. Yeah. But the moment I go into that box segregation again, it's like my wheels slowly come off. Yeah. And my heart, and YOUnique Life's heart, is to see people empowered to become everything they've created to be. I believe that every single person has been made with such a powerful, dynamic calling, anointing, purpose, hope over their life. And if we can teach you practical steps on nurturing the whole of you, we can see you set free and change the world.
I absolutely love it. It makes me so excited. And I mean, I've stepped onto this journey, about 3 years ago?
Yeah, 3 years
and
now.
3
Yeah.
And I feel like I've learned so much through the journey, and I feel like I've grown in certain areas. But I think the main thing for me has been what you said about how these boxes would cause anxiety, actually.
Yes.
And they would cause panic and stress and worry, and I would never be able to kind of rest in anything, rest in the process and rest in, okay, but I'm busy with this, that's okay, we'll get there kind of thing.
Yes.
And so it's been really liberating for me to kind of walk with you and see that and be part of that. And so do you have a story of a time where this was like that very moment where you discovered that?
Yes, I do have a story. Okay, very moment. So for those of you who are joining in for the first time and listening to YOUnique Life, it is no secret that I love Jesus with my whole heart, and I am a born-again believer, but we believe that everybody has purpose. Doesn't matter where you are in that view. But at this point, I was serving in ministry. I was running around. I was doing everything that I thought was great. So in my mind, I had got to a point where, I thought preaching and teaching and leading teams and writing books, this was it. Like, this was where I wanted to be. And I was at the ripe old age of 31, and I started to fall into this incredible fatigue, like absolute fatigue, and just was running so low. I couldn't understand why I was running so low. I did have 2 kids in a few years before, and wasn't sleeping. So I kind of just put it up to, this is life of a mum. Suck it up. You got to deal with what you got to deal with.
Yeah.
However, as time went on, I started to get more tired and more tired. And eventually I started to lose not the dexterity, but I struggled to use this hand. I'd have pins and needles in my hand all day, and it was terrible. I couldn't actually, I wasn't able to fully use it. And I started to get these incredible pains through my legs, pins and needles, and just feeling rubbish. I don't know how to explain it. I was really just feeling rubbish. And I was driving with the kids in the car, and the next thing, my entire eye just went black. Like, it was just, I didn't know where I was for a second. And I pulled over, and I knew that there was something very, very wrong. And so we went to a doctor, and we started seeing the doctor. And she said to me, "Oh, you are in burnout." And I'm like, how can I be in burnout? I'm doing everything I want to do. I'm working hard. I'm building the kingdom. I'm like, how can I be in burnout? And she said 3 things to me that I think shifted my mind. So, it was just such an ordinary conversation.
Yeah.
She said to me, number 1, you got to look at your food. And I'm like, but I've always been healthy. I'm naturally healthy. Don't eat sugar. No, you got to look at your food. She said, number 2, you have to look at how you're managing your stress.
Sure.
Because there's an anxiety here that is untouched. And I was like, hello, I do healing for a living. This is what I do. I help people with this. What are you talking about? And then we spoke about the medical side of stuff. And as we started to journey, I realized that my whole life I'd segregated stuff. And then I'd achieve a box and I'd write it off and I'd think it'd be okay. But actually, through stages of life, some of those boxes would come back. So an example would be I dealt with dealing with stress at school level when you have exam time. And I dealt with that, and I dealt with the emotion. But then suddenly I was getting married. And I didn't know how to deal with that level of emotion. And I would just park it, I just put it down. And then I'd be having kids, and it would come up again. And so this box thinking was, oh, well, it's dealt with, I'm writing it off. But actually, as life happens, new things pop up. Yeah. And when we start to learn how to look at ourselves as a whole and take ourselves out of these achievement boxes, we actually start to flourish. And we are whole. We are whole. We are made whole. Everything about our bodies is made to heal, is made to be whole, is made for fullness in life.
Yeah.
And when we allow ourselves to be in that space of everything and approaching life as a holistic whole, that's when the freedom comes, because you can say, well, sure, the anxiety's back. I thought I dealt with this, but new season, it's okay. This is a new opportunity. I'm going to work through that. And I've totally recovered. I do sometimes have to manage my stress levels from that time, but it taught me such a huge lesson, because I thought, because I'm achieving in my purpose, I don't need to look at my food.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
Because I feel like I'm feeding other people, I don't need to look at my exercise or my over-exercising at the time. And actually coming and saying, if I don't look at my food, I'm not going to be able to achieve my purpose. If I don't look at my purpose, I'm not going to feel value enough to be able to choose the right food. If I don't look at my stress levels, my hormones are going to be out. And starting to realize this is all one picture that fits together.
Yeah, that's amazing. Sure. What a journey.
Big journey.
But I really love how it comes together like that, and how you've been able to find like a resting and a trusting in, okay, well, this doesn't have to throw me. I can just navigate this, and I can just figure this out. And take some practical steps and some easy steps sometimes that we just need to put in place, or change one or two things. But I think it's really just about the knowledge and about knowing, okay, this is where I'm at. This is what I need to change. How do we kind of do that? So do you have any kind of practical steps that you did in this initial revelation, like all this initial step? Like, what was your first step after finding all this out?
The first step was rest. And as a high A-type personality, an executive personality, it's quite hard to rest. And often we want, when we get information on what needs to be changed, we want it to happen right there, right then, and like it must come right now. The realization is, well, you took 31 years to get here. 31 years to get you. So it's not going to take 1 week to get out. And I needed to rest and choose to be a part of the process of life, and choose to enjoy the journey of achieving the very best version of myself, rather than striving to get to the end goal. And I think that's your first step. If you're always chasing an end goal, life's going to be hard. Yeah. Because you're always going to be falling short of the goal that's set before you. And I love goal setting. Yeah. Listen, I goal set. So, but when you're in the process of discovery, the process of learning every day, the process of discovering the kisses that life has for you in today, that process is so joyful, and the end goal is the byproduct. Yeah, it's the cherry on the top, but you're actually enjoying every moment. And I think that's the mindset that I needed to shift into, especially like as just goal orientated and achieve orientated. And I don't know how I did it. It was a little bit miraculous, but we have developed a whole bunch of tools to help people to choose in the moment. I'm choosing today. Yeah. And I'm not trying to reach the end goal at expense of my health, at expense of my family, at expense of love, at expense of, but I'm just going to enjoy today.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah. And I love that, because often rest is the thing we shelve, or we think, I need to work so that I can deserve to rest at the end of the day, or I need to finish the week so that I can deserve to rest or get to rest. But actually, rest is part of everyday life. It's part of everyday living. We gotta sleep.
Gotta sleep.
I couldn't believe that I had to sleep. I mean, I know we sleep and we sleep every night, but 8 hours, it's important, because it's one of the pillars of our whole health, So that's really cool, and I think that's a really kind of difficult but also practical thing that we can do to kind of change a few things. So
Kate's just got some questions that she's going to be asking us, and we're going to have conversations around a whole lot of stuff, from kids to health, to food, to hormones, and we just really want to let you in on some of our conversations. If you have questions that you guys are wanting answers to, please email us, because we'd love to have those questions. But we're going to take you through a little bit of a series on what it looks like to live vitality, to live with life and health and joy, and to really think about what you're thinking about.
Yeah, sounds awesome. So we'll see you next time.
Bye. Thanks for listening to today's podcast. If you would like some more resources and free material, check out youniquelife.co.za. And remember, you are loved, you are seen, and your life is important.